So first of all, thank you so much for being here. And I want to honor the people that keep me rolling and grooving. And that is Laura Cross, Tom Gay, Brad Berkowitz, Jeff Bourgeois, Matt Roseman, and Michael Whitehouse. If you happen to be on, great. We will sing your praises in just a moment. But these are the people who are my referral partners, and they send people my way. I send people their way. And just want to let you know, thank you so much for being here. If you are one of these people, I'll say, and who came here because they were referred, I will ask you to put your hand up and you will be called on first after Gary is done speaking. So I've been in the speaking gig for quite a while. I was on radio in 1982 with KDFM, KOEFM, been in broadcasting for a hot minute, written a few books. I got struck by lightning when I was in middle school. And if you're interested, I wrote 4 books on the divine experience there. What happened this week is I was able to publish Buddha Behind Bars. For those of you who are beta readers, you got the email. I had to put it under explicit content because of the violence in the book due to the prison system that I was writing about. But also we do have some Buddhist principles in there, as well as the second half of the book is kind of a journal. So we have some links in the chat for you regarding that. Also with Ditch Your Debt and Banking Bucks, this is what I started off with. When I first met Gary Barnes, he's like, what are your 3 words? And we will talk about that in a bit. And what my 3 words were was I was a financial first responder. And so that's where you get all that. When you hear me rag on you about what are your 3 words, Gary Barnes. I'm channeling Gary Barnes. There is a free course available to you in the chat. Go ahead, sign up. You do not have to be worry about being pummeled. It is not a funnel. It allows you to go into that chat, and you will hear from me probably once every 2 or 3 months when you are in that course. It's very rare that I reach out to you because I want you to work through it at your own pace. I talk about money, how it needs 3 areas for it to grow, how we split it up according to the 60-40 principle. And when I was working like that, I got asked to speak at Consumer News Television, MSNBC. The Oprah Winfrey Show reached out to me. I did not get on that show. I got interviewed, but didn't make it. As they said, I wasn't sexy enough. It was a joke. They knew what they needed. I was not the personality they were looking for on that. So go to my podcast, 3-Minute Money Tips. It's in the chat. You can sign up for that playlist. Now, for those of you that are familiar with me through the Thriving Solopreneur, you want to download this. This is your 4-hour-a-week system that I talk about in the Thriving Solopreneur. So go ahead and download that, work through it. You want to set up 1 hour a week for each of these items: prospecting, follow-up, connecting with people, and training your team. You want to focus on one thing. What are your income-producing activities? If you do not know what your income producing activities are, then I say you do not have clients. So I want you to focus on those income producing activities and track your progress. How many people are you calling a week? How many people are you connecting with? How many people are you doing follow-up with? This will determine your revenue. You can sign up for the podcast, The Thriving Solopreneur, and that is also in the chat. So moving on, let's talk about follow-up, which is those cards. People love my cards. I wanted to share with you. If you send me a selfie with your "You're on mute" card, I will put you on my wall of fame. Yes, I will. And the thing that I love about these cards is how many people give me free advertising and marketing and promotion because they're telling me how much they love my cards and blah, blah, blah. The next thing I know, I have people who come into my world just because they want the "You're on mute" card. Okay, so definitely sign up for that. It's in the chat. Again, you will not be put on a list of any kind. You may get a few more cards from me, but that's going to be about it. You don't have to worry about getting into a funnel. Also, the next link in the chat is going to be send a card on me. Test out this system. See if it's appropriate for your business. I guarantee you direct mail is one of the areas that people adore, having good mail for them. Next, Tom Gay. He works with Alignable and does Engage Pro, some of the best software I've seen as far as a solopreneur that is looking for a CRM that isn't going to kill them expense-wise. You want to listen to Tom Gay's episode that is in the chat. I have people say, hey, Janine, I want to be a guest on your podcast. And I say, great, we'd love to have you. It's $197. Why? Because we're on radio. We are not just a podcasting service. So we actually have to pay for time on our 64 public radio station and the 112 internet-based platforms. Those of you who are running TV shows, I know we have a few TV show hosts in here. You understand what I'm talking about. If you don't have sponsors, somebody needs to pay for that time. So thank you for your services. Also, we had your cybersecurity. I ran a workshop with Matt Roseman. He will be on in a bit. We discussed yesterday why you need to disconnect your Chrome autosave features now that all the new platforms are online and we are running at 5.0. What your security software is doing, and is it doing the job you need it to do on all your internet devices? And what text is scam? What is phishing? What's happening in that world? We have worksheets, we have to-do lists, we have all kinds of added downloadables with that. So in the chat, you will see a link where you can sign up for that course. Today's the last day that you're going to get it for only $97. After that, it goes up in price. Okay, so I had a student ask me, Janine, how do you consistently keep the mindset of abundance? Well, first of all, realize you have extra challenges if you live in the United States in an election year, and they like to talk about how difficult our lives are. And I always laugh. Anybody who's lived overseas, anybody who's lived anywhere realizes how actually in America we have it fairly good. We just have to make sure we take care of ourselves. So in Buddha Behind Bars, I talk about the principles of Buddhism, which is you want to keep yourself in 3 areas: acceptance, eager, or enthusiastic. Well, it's very difficult to live in a experience of enthusiasm all the time. It's sometimes very difficult to be eager, but you can be in acceptance. And if you're in a state of acceptance, that's the end of sorrow. And we'll talk about that more next week. I just wanted to kind of give you a preview of some of the things I talk about in that book. This is the number one thing that is on everybody's mind when you come to networking events, and that is, how do you get more clients? This is the take-home message of pretty much everything I share or teach. So does Gary Barnes. We are all about getting you more income, and this is the way you do it. When your revenue, when your cash flow looks like this, it is time for you to do something about it. It needed to happen while you saw the water going out, but maybe you were busy, distracted. You don't have the legion you think you should. This is what you do. You go onto Facebook, you go onto your phone, and you go into LinkedIn, and you download everybody you know. If you don't know how to do this to make this thing, my people are so tired of hearing this, but too bad. It's a master contact sheet. How many people have done their master contact sheet? I know of only 3 who have done their master contact sheet. Build out your master contact sheet, and guess what you're going to do? You're going to put it on one of these 3 platforms. I don't care which. You're going to open up your calendar. You're going to schedule your critical 4 hours. You're going to assess your current contacts. You're going to download them. And guess what happens next? You're going to pick up this antiquated thing called a telephone, and you are going to call every person on that list. And you're not going to stop until your revenue is back where you want it to be. So when are you going to do this? Last week, we had a few people put it in the chat, and I noticed the people that said that they'd have it done by this week are not present. So I'm not going to rag on anybody this week, but when are you going to get your contact sheet together? It's in the chat where we have it. You can download it. I have a template already built out for you. I am speaking at the Entrepreneur Summit. Thank you, Michael Whitehouse, for inviting me, and Jeff Bourgeois for asking me to show up. It's on August 8th. It is online, and I will be talking about the wacky way to wealth, which is through workshops. Okay, then we're going to hear from this guy. I was a client of his from 2016 to 2019, and guess what? He's still coaching me once a week or once a year. I tell you to go on a business retreat. This is my business retreat. I go to Gary Barnes Business Breakthrough Mastery Boot Camp, and one of the fun things is I've been showing up so long. He lets me speak. Isn't that cool? I get to speak at my coach's event. I love that part. And guess what I get to talk about? The wacky way to wealth, the $100,000 blueprint. You've heard me talk about the $100,000 blueprint. This is all Gary Barnes's invention, and it's so cool. So I'm like, look, dude, I'm doing so much stuff behind your back. Are you going to show up at my Open Friday coffee? People need to know what I'm doing with your content. He goes, sure, no problem. And I said, also, I'm going to host a webinar the day before, I'm sorry, not a webinar, a workshop, the day before your thing. I'm going to be in the hotel. So if you show up, come to Denver, fly. It's easy. You still get the discounted rates. We made sure we promoted this September 19th from 1 to 5. I'll be in the hotel at a cost of only $47, where I'm going to give you the books that I wrote based on the systems I created after I learned Gary's systems. Okay. It's basically, how do you go about doing this $100,000 blueprint? By the way, it took me 3 years because I didn't have somebody like me teaching me. I had Gary teaching me, and I had to go learn how to do this while building a broadcasting business at the same time. Because did I tell you I got distracted? I got distracted. Okay. Power of your 3 words and get statement. So I'm going to bring Gary on. And so Gary, if you would show up for us, appreciate it. There you are. Thank you so much for being here. And the reason I wanted Gary to talk about get statements is one thing. Sometimes people think, oh, it's goals, it's boring. I really am done with it. Guess what? So is he. And I'll let him tell you how get statements were born, how he uses them, and why they are so valuable. Go ahead, Gary. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, Janine, thank you so much. One of the things I wanted to say first, well, and I wanted to say hi, Laura. It's been a while since we've spoken. But you guys are in the right place with the right person at the right time. And, if you'll follow the items that Janine is sharing with you, I think the biggest challenge is people don't realize the gold that they're looking at when they're looking at it because it doesn't look like a piece of jewelry. The piece of jewelry is what you guys make out of the gold. So I just wanted to say that first, and thank you, Janine, for inviting me here for just a couple of minutes. I've got to give you a new picture because this is the picture of the revised book. We just did it, just released it. But a number of years ago, I had the privilege of working and being around Tony Robbins. And Tony Robbins did something that is called must statements, and it was his version of affirmations. Now, I what I will also preface anytime I teach, I say this is my way, not the way, and because it's always about conforming to you guys, not because it just works for me, but I want you to take some of the principles, if possible, and to be able to get the results that I have gotten out of some of the things that I've created. And so, anyway, Tony had must statements. And if you're anything like me, if you tell me I must do something, I'm going to go the opposite direction. It's my little kid inside. I'm not proud of it. I just know it's how I am. If there's a cliff there, I don't care. I'll jump up into midair. And so I was sitting there and I liked the basic principle, but I wondered what could I change about it. And that's when I saw, and I'm a little bit weird, I saw the word must drop out and the word get drop in. So I get to X, whatever it is. It's like I don't have to open a present, but I get to open a present. And so I wasn't satisfied with that just to leave it at that. I wanted an acronym. So the acronym for the word get is Great Expectations Today. And so the thing is that when we are reprogramming, I call it how to reboot your brain for success because there's an old story about the shoe salesman that goes to a country and he calls his home office, says send me home, nobody here wears shoes. The next salesperson comes in and calls his home office and says send every pair of shoes you have in the warehouse because nobody here wears shoes. Same stimulus, same information, different viewpoint because of how they have programmed what they see and how they see it and the relevance of that. And so Janine's given me a very short period of time here at my boot camp. I spent almost an hour and a half going through that process, and you're going to get it in about 7-8 minutes here. But I wanted to give you the basic framework of how to create a get statement. The definition of a get statement is a future result stated in the present tense. And so an example of that is, and I would recommend you, and for those of you that go back and rewatch this, you can listen for it. But here's a sample. I receive $100,000 with $80,000 in net revenue by December 15th, 2024. There's some elements that are very critical. Number one is I receive. I didn't work harder. If all it took was working harder, then we'd all be gazillionaires. And so it's I receive. And then there's two numbers, the gross and the net. And Janine is brilliant with this because everybody focuses on the big number. Well, the big number you don't get to spend. It's the little number that you get to influence and impact your life. And so you want the gross and the net. And then the word by, not on. The idea is that it can happen early, and a lot of times it does. And then you have a specific date. And people ask me, why December 15th? For me, I used to do December 31st, and I would work through the holidays to get to my goals. My family wasn't real happy with me. And so I started realizing I wanted to end when I wanted to end, and it was December 15th. That doesn't mean that I don't have opportunities and things that happen during that period of time, but my goal for the year is over on December 15th. And so the thing is that how do we get to a get statement? I'm going to give you 5 questions to ask, and I would suggest setting a timer for no more than 10 minutes to do these. And the questions are, what do I want to have? What do I want to be? Where do I want to go? What do I want to give? And I'm missing one. Have me give. What is it that I'm missing? I love
Do
it when I
what do I
do.
want to
Oh,
do?
do. What do
Yeah.
I want to do? These 5 questions will give you all of a stimulus about every element of who you are, the personal, financial, the mental, the spiritual. And so it gives you a well-rounded goal of where you're going in the future. Oh, I did not say this. When you set a date, set the date within 12 to 18 months. If you do it farther than that, there will be no urgency. And so the thing is that as you do this, you're going to have a little voice in your head. Who do you think you are? Why do you think you're going to have that? I don't care what the answer is. It's just this is where when you do this first part, this is the options. It's not what you have decided to incorporate into your life or into the results that you're wanting. But just those, this is just the I call it the Christmas list, the possibilities. And the biggest thing with this is to have fun. And I think I've gone almost 9 minutes, Janine, and my internal clock.
Right, your
I,
15-second warning's coming up.
so see, I've only given 1,000 talks or more, during my career, doing all the media, and I'm used to those little uh, cues on
Mhm.
TV and radio shows. But anyway, hope that's beneficial. Janine knows well about this. And I know that even if you don't believe that they work, the beauty of this is they work in spite of your belief. Because in the beginning, you have no experience with what they can do for you. And I would recommend you write these out every single day the same way for as long as you know, let me put it this way. People ask me, how long should I be doing this? And I go, well, if you're going to the gym for a weight goal or a strength goal, how long do you go to the gym? And they go, oh, forever. And that's the same thing here. So,
Mhm.
Janine, thank you so much for the opportunity.
I
I
always
know I
love
was
it.
speaking really fast.
No, you did really well, yes. Because normally Gary's quite the storyteller, Mike. You would appreciate his abilities on that. But the thing is, it's always a treat when you can get your coach to come on and talk and talk their stuff because you may talk it to your blue in the face, but I've lived it. And it's one of those things that after 3 years of working the process, I was at 135,000 a year. And so that's why I brought Gary on because his stuff works. And I'm excited that um, I wanted to invite you guys. I know many of you are out of country and all that kind of stuff, may not be able to fly into Denver, but these events do happen, and maybe you can plan for next year and join me next year at Denver, Colorado with Gary. Go ahead, Gary.
One of the things I wanted to say is the $100,000 level seems to be the glass ceiling for so many people, and it's actually just a mindset. And if you're not reaching that level, figure out what it is that, like Janine had said on her beginning tiles, is that if you don't know who you're talking to, why you're talking to them, and what you're delivering to them, find out, because that $100,000 level is available to virtually everyone.
Mhm. And thank you, Gary. I appreciate you being here and for your time. Always nice to have the coach there. Now,